Hi, everybody. Well, this is a bit of I just found this on Yahoo kind of thing, and I just really felt like sharing. I want to read this pretty much verbatim. I know that I do occasionally shoot these videos like that, but here's one that I just saw that I just had to say something about. It says, yoga teacher says she was fired for dirty look. Blames texting student. Facebook culture. I'm going to read this more or less verbatim. And it's by Piper Weiss with the Shine staff. Now, it says, have you ever had your phone ring in a yoga class? It's like you entered the prom naked. In a world wired for constant communication, yoga class is one of the last places where pings, rings, and vibrations are grounds for reproach. It's about respect for the instructor and those in class, yoga teacher Alice Van Nice explained to ABC News. Up until a few weeks ago, Van Ness taught yoga to Facebook employees at the company's Bay Area campus. But an etiquette conflict between the ancient practice and the modern world changed all of that, she said. It began when a student and Facebook employee began texting during class. Total downward don't. Van Ness claimed that she gave a disapproving look elsewhere described as a stink eye. When the unidentified employee left class to finish her text and later complained about the bad vibes coming from the teacher, Karma was a B dot 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 dot. Van Ness says she was fired by Plus One Health Management, the parent company that operates Facebook Fitness Center, just 2 weeks after the incident. In her termination letter, she says she was accused of making a spectacle of the texting student by stopping class to glare at her. They sent me packing, Van Ness told Mercury News. They didn't even want to hear my side of the story. Plus One has yet to respond to media requests. Here's her side of the story. Van Ness, like most instructors, requests students turn off their phones before class. So when she was demonstrating a difficult half-moon pose for students, she was stunned that one of them would simultaneously be using their phone. I just looked at her with this utter disbelief, like, really? You're going to do that right now? Van Ness told ABC News. I don't believe there's anything that could be going on at Facebook that couldn't wait a half an hour. That may be true, but not every boss would agree. Van Ness can vouch for that. Facebook does not require their employees to keep their phones on during work hours, according to a company spokesperson. But if you work for a major technology company, you know timely responses during work hours are expected. They're also at times involuntary. When you spend so much of your day connected, disconnected isn't as easy as it looks. These days, there's a growing impasse between yogis who see connectivity as a blessing for a growing industry, namely thanks to tech employers, web promotions, and podcast tutorials, and those who see it as a hazardous distraction. Put Van Ness in Category B. She now considers her termination a blessing and has decided to ditch offers from Silicon Valley's plethora of company-funded classes altogether. The culture of those places is to let them do whatever they want, she told San Francisco Chronicle, and I'm just not really okay with anarchy. Anarchy, really? It makes you question the sincerity of that end of class namaste. Well, my opinion on this is the fact that, really, I mean, granted, whoever the person was that was the Facebook employee, should have had the common courtesy to turn off their cell phone like requested and just, let everybody know, hey, from this time to this time, for X length of time, I'm not going to be available. I will text you, call you, email you, whatever, later. I mean, it's not like, their house was on fire or something and they had to go home. I mean, whatever it was, I'm sure could have waited a half an hour or whatever. I mean, granted, I know from having been in management myself that there are just some things that, have to be done like right now, like just immediately, and it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of taking a hot shower or whatever, or doing yoga poses or something. You just have to stop whatever you're doing and go deal with X. Well, I mean, like that I understand, but it's like if it's like, then why are you taking a yoga class? I mean, like, granted, you might be trying to get all zenned out and stuff, but if it's like, if you've got a job that just requires you to, constantly 24/7 be available, or just, be holding somebody's hand because they get dysfunctional, then why are you taking the class? I mean, you should, definitely fix it to where, like, for however long, even if it's an emergency, people understand that they're going to have to, wait. I mean, it'd be one thing if they had like a sick child or something, and then just put it on, vibrate, or, turn it off and say, well, if something happens, leave me a message, and when I get out of class, I'll call you back or whatever. I mean, like I've once said to my mom, when she, before, like, a few years ago, before she actually learned to turn her cell phone off at night to let it charge up faster, I said, Mom, that's what voicemail's for. It's like, if whomever calls you, if it's that important that they get a hold of you, they can either A, leave a message, or if it's like somebody in the family, and they know your home number, then they can hang up and call your house. That's how that works. I said, people will live if they can't get a hold of you right now. I mean, if it's, one of them things, like if you're sleeping. I mean, it'd be one thing if, and I'm not saying this is true because it's not, it'd be like if I was pregnant and went into labor, say, I mean, like, I would probably be calling my parents up, if it happened in the middle of the night, and be like, come get me, or hey, I've went into labor, you might want to show up at the hospital. I mean, but, stuff like interrupting a class, that's just rude. I mean, like, I know at my employer, the agents are not allowed to have phones out on the floor, and if they've got their phone out, I mean, it's to make sure that it's turned off and then put it away. I mean, you're supposed to have it on silent. But, I do agree with that lady Van Nuys that it's just rude, and I don't blame her for, like, after she got fired, just saying, well, I'm out of here, see ya, be like, I don't think so. I mean, because there are some places, and I know that I agree with the lady that wrote the article. There's some places that, it's just like, you just let them do whatever they want. You can't tell them, well, you might be, Mr. or Miss Vice President person, and, you might have to be available around the clock. But, if you're going to take this class, you need to understand there are rules. If you're going to have to be just available during class, then don't take this class, because, I will need you to have your phone turned off, so this way you can focus and, you don't get yourself hurt. I mean, it's like, I can understand both sides of it, but, I mean, it's just, but mainly my thing is I think it's slightly rude for, whomever it was, the lady that was texting, to be like, whatever, and, like, having to do it then, it's like, it's like, I would like to ask whomever that student was, if whatever it was that she had to text about was that important that it couldn't wait, a half an hour, or, wait until, or, could she have just stepped outside and just, like she did, but, like, as soon as she got it, if it was that major, she should have just quietly as possible gotten up and walked out of the room sooner. Or, if there was some issue going on, she should have, been, not in class that night. I mean, really? I mean, that's the question, that I'd also ask her is, how long was this issue, whatever it was, going on prior to you showing up for your yoga class? And if this was going on prior to that, why did you go to yoga class? Why didn't you just go on and deal with whatever the issue was and not interrupt that class? Because, I mean, I can understand where Van Nuys is coming from. That would be, distracting and annoying, not to mention rude. But anyway, I'm going to pause here because I got some other stuff to shoot, and I will be right back in a second, all right? Hang on.